Hello everybody, I'm Mickey Mouse here and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. I know it's been a long time since actually coming back into YouTube stuff, especially I was going to be voicing cast on this stuff. And welcome back to more of the Let's Plays of Kirby Marathon, because even then though, that you remember how last time that Piglet did manage to finish up with Kirby's Dream Land for 2 playthroughs of that game. Both the normal playthrough and the extra game, which is considerably the hard mode of the game. And now, today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be tackling through the next Kirby game in the Kirby Marathon. And that's the forms of Kirby's Adventure for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This game was first released in 1993, a year after Kirby's Dream Land 1 came out on the Game Boy, which is kind of odd because of how the fact that Kirby's first adventure was actually on the handheld, rather than being on the console. So even then though, it makes it a little bit more, you know, strange and odd at the same time. So even then though, that, yeah. As far as I can tell, this might actually be a definition of the last NES game to be released on that particular console, among with Mega Man 6 for the NES, or Nintendo Entertainment System. I might be wrong about that, but even then, that's as far as I could really try to tell with these release dates as far as I might add. So, luckily this game did manage to re-releasing it on the Wii's Virtual Console, or the Wii U, or the 3DS version, or to be more accurately, 3D Classics version of Kirby's Adventure, because it actually has 3D effects. And let's just hope if the Virtual Console games will be on the Nintendo Switch at some point. But even then, that would be really cool. So for this version, I'm going to be playing through, as you can tell, is the forms of the Wii U's eShop Virtual Console re-release. Because as far as I've noticed, since we're still in the UK country, I've found the fact that it does have a pretty much, you know, the lacking of, you know, the Hertz mode, like 50 Hertz mode you get in the PAL version, whilst the NTSC version, or in this case the American version, runs at 60 Hertz. So even then though, that makes it pretty obvious differences. So anyways, from the start here, you can actually select up to 3 different files. So this is what the Kirby games firstly introduced in the entire franchise, which will become stable in the future entries, and that's the file selection. So every time when you actually just, you know, skip over the title sequence right there, you can actually select up to 3 different files, like Kirby 1, 2, or 3. So anyways, without further ado, let's get started with the first world in this game, which was Level 1, Vegetable Valley. So, yeah, not to be confused as when the exact same year as when it's released at around the exact same year as Sonic CD, every single world is being usually just divided into the exact same letter beginnings of each sentence. Like for instance, you know in Sonic CD's first level in the game was actually Plum Tree Panic, that the beginning part of the letter was actually in P, and then Panic was actually P, so even then that makes it pretty obvious. And, that could be the same applies to Kirby's Adventure on the other hand, because, well, as you can tell, the first level in the game was actually forms of Vegetable Valley, so that means every single letter at the beginning is fully utilized V. So, yeah, that could be something related to a, I don't know, a code, or a hint, or a clue. I don't know, we'll try to figure this out as soon as we actually proceed to this game. So yes, this is Kirby's Adventure. If you ever played Kirby's Dream Land before, specifically on the Game Boy, you probably noticed that the gameplay itself almost feels exactly identical to Kirby's Dream Land, except there are some quite a few noticeable differences. First off, we've now got ourselves our copy abilities now, which even then though, unlike afterwards, that you know, after the Kirby's Dream Land, that the only power-ups you can get in Kirby's Dream Land, which are Invincibility Lollipop, and especially noticeable with this little, I don't know, a projectile shooter or some kind? But even then, I wasn't really entirely sure on that one. But even then, looks kinda cool to see how Kirby now finally got himself his copy abilities now. So even then though, take Spark for example, then I can able to actually spark through electricity and all that stuff, which I think is really cool. There's also other ability, which is the forms of the fire ability, which allows me to actually perform a flamethrower. So even then though, that way, you were able to deal damage to enemies much more easier this time around though. Because rather than just actually dealing with, oh yeah, before we get to this type of stuff, let's go ahead and enter this minigame. Crane Fever. Use the buttons to move the crane and try to get a Kirby. The big one's hard to get, but worth it. So in this particular minigame, we're actually going to be using 2 credits, as you can tell, because much like how it does in the arcade machines, that how the fact that we need to be able to do like 2 attempts on this minigame. If you grab the big Kirby, as you can tell, I'm going to be grabbing. Sometimes it might be a little bit random, as you can tell, because sometimes the big Kirby automatically drops down immediately. But as long as you're able to get yourselves 2 credits worth, then you would able to get yourselves a multitude of attempts to do so. But even then though, big Kirbys are worth you about 2 1-ups, and then regular small Kirby will give you just 1-up. So that'll be about it when it comes to bonus worth it. So there you go, that's how you get extra lives in this minigame. So yeah, it's pretty worth mentioning, and I've got 6 lives, so that's pretty cool. So anyways, now we move on to level 2. So yeah, differently from Kirby's Dream Land actually, is the forms of level progressioning. In the forms of Kirby's Adventure 1, in this case Kirby's Dream Land 1 I should say, how the fact that when you get to the level progressioning, like there are literally 5 levels in that game. Like in order to actually go to the next levels, by simply you have to beat the boss until the end, and that's all you're really trying to do. In Kirby's Adventure, all you have to do is basically we're gonna have to go through several different stages per world. Like for instance, we actually explored through 2 stages so far. Well, we've done 1 already. Oh, of course, we got ourselves our mini fights coming up here. Like we got ourselves our bomber right here, very much like in Kirby's Dream Land. That normally we have to inhale the bomb and then just reflect it back at them. Well, in addition to the copy abilities, it makes it much more easy to use this time around though. So, I guess that's the rare copy ability, which is in forms of Crash. Yo, you can only use that ability at least once, much like how it does in the Mike ability from Kirby's Dream Land, because if you use it once, then that's it. And also it's really worth mentioning though is the fact that Kirby can now actually swim, as you can tell for this animation, because normally in Kirby's Dream Lands, the only time he doesn't have the swimming animation from that game is because of how the fact that he's still in a, I would say, standing position on that pose. I don't know about you, but anyway. So yeah, there's gonna be a multitude of items here. You still got the maximum tomatoes, which much like how it does it in Kirby's Dream Land, it gives you a maximum amount of health you can get. And similar to how it does in Kirby's Dream Land is that you can only carry up to 6 units of health. So even then though, every time you run out of health, then you have to go for the entire checkpoint again. So it's luckily not as noticeable as last time though, because of how the fact that, well, first off, as you can tell, we got ourselves not only the old enemies that we've all known and loved ever since Kirby's Dream Land 1, but also some new others as well. Like, for instance, I'm actually got ourselves a sword copy ability, which even then, this way, that I managed to inhale one of the enemies, so even then though, that, I'm assuming these are known as the swordsman enemies, but even then though, it's been a long time since I actually play as Kirby games nowadays, especially I was, you know, concentrating on new games and etc. and all that kinds of stuff. It's especially noticeable that usually there's a new sort of franchise that I was most likely get into. So I would like to go for the Zelda universe and join it at some point in the future, but not now though, because we still got some time left. So, and plus that we still got some plenty of time after doing so. But anyway, yeah, with the sword ability, this way you can able to actually slash your sword slash ability and all that stuff, so that's really cool and all that stuff. And also, we got ourselves these enemies right here, these hot disco enemies. And basically, this way gives me a fireball ability, which allows me, like, taking notice from, this is where before when Sonic the Hedgehog 3, or especially noticeable in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, usually introduced the flame shield from one of the elemental shields. This ability feels very similar to the flame shield from Sonic 3. That, if you manage to jump in midair, and you can actually press the B button, if you actually play this on Nintendo Entertainment System controller, or if you're actually using the Wii or the Wii U's Virtual Console version of the game, assuming if you're actually going to be using the Wii Remote control, by simply pressing the 1 button. So everything else just should be simple and simplicity and done. So yeah, that's why I can. Shoot. There goes the first step of this playthrough, and trust me when I say this, I'm really not an expert on this game until the future entries. It's probably because, much like how it does in Kirby's Dream Land, is that, the controls in Kirby's Adventure, rather, It might be a little bit improvement than last time, but at the same time, it feels a little bit too finicky at little segments notice. Is that unlike in the future entries, that when you're able to actually, trying to float in the air or of some kind, that normally you have to jump, you have to press the A button twice. But in this game, amongst with Kirby's Dream Land, they have to press the up button on the directional pads. Even then, I found it a little bit too... take a while to get used to it, but at the same time, that is more accurately, I was so used to with the future games, so... But as for the time's sake of being that, yeah, that's why I was like, usually just trying to tell with these parts, so I'm just gonna grab myself my maximum tomato before I, have some insanity at one point or another. That's just what I actually really can tell for this point. Oh yeah, this is actually the goal minigame, as you can tell, but I'm simply just able to actually press the jump button. Depends on what timing you press, how much, points you can get, or simply just get yourselves a 1-up. So, that makes it pretty obvious, and let's get into this door here. Museum. Here is a colorful display of enemies with special abilities. Eat the one you want. So it's more accurately just to choose of which Kirby abilities you want to go for. Like, if I want to dish out the spark, or no, the fireball ability, by simply just able to press the select button, if I could recall it that, or the minus button if you have to play this on the Wii U, or the, the Wii remote, if you want to prefer calling it that. But even then, that's how you're trying to discard out the Kirby abilities if you don't want anymore. So... here is the freeze ability, which this is where before when the latest Kirby games actually introduces the ice ability, which this way you can able to freeze enemies. So even then, every time you freeze those enemies, then they transform into themselves some ice cubes. So that's what I can really think about this ability. So even then though that, well, usually it's kind of cool and awesome. So eventually this game also gets itself a remake. Back in during the likes of 2002 and especially 2003 in UK, if I could recall it that. And that game is also known. That game is predictably known as Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. That remake of Kirby's Adventure only came out on the Game Boy Advance, which is more accurately because it's on the handheld to begin with. But even then, I will discuss more details as soon as we were able to actually get into Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland at some point, mainly during that some point in spring. Oh, we got ourselves the familiar character right there. But even then, we got ourselves the invincibility Lollipop, which much like how it does in Kirby's Dreamland 1, that you can simply just become invisible for the entire time. Or in this case, in this game, you'll become Hyper Mode. So, no, not Hyper Mode from the likes of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, that's for sure. Because first off, we don't have our Super Chaos Emeralds, or actually Super Emeralds, if you will. And plus, there's no Master Emerald to be seen. So anyway... so from here, after when you finish the main levels of the game, we actually introduce on our bosses. And even then, the first boss in this game was actually forms of wispy words, which much like how it does in Kirby's Dreamland, that we have to simply, normally you get out to toss the apple projectiles right back at him, but it's a lot easier and pathetically at the same time too, because due to copy abilities you can now use. So even then, note that there goes the first world in this game, Vegetable Valley. And yeah, Ball simply able to actually collect those familiar objects. I believe those are known as Star Rod pieces. But even then, no, that's as far as I can tell. So anyways, World 2 is the forms of Ice Cream Islands, which makes it more accurately between, ice cream. Because I won't count for C, because obviously C is not related to the I. But even then, though, but combined with ice cream, that makes it pretty obvious with this whole word sentences and all that stuff. And also islands, which means like we get like V and I. I mean, what's next? B? Oh wait, spoiler alerts. Sorry about that. Anyway though, yeah, this level feels very similar to how it does in Float Islands from Kirby's Dreamland. I almost said Kirby's Adventure for some reason. Yeah, this particular world looks very, very, very similar to Float Islands, except oh, you gotta be kidding me! I got exploded. Except the fact that, well, I should probably mention this right off the get-go this time, is that, differently from Kirby's Dreamland, if you couldn't tell already, is that this game actually introduces color, which even then, though, unlike in Kirby's Dreamland, and especially Kirby's Dreamland 2, which we'll get into that during next month sometime, usually, normally in these two games, they have black and white colors. So even then, that makes it pretty much stand up. No! No, 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 no. Stupid power cell. Oy. And speaking of power cell, now we can actually use the power cell from the get-go. So, anyway, now that's a bit of embarrassment, I have to say that much. Come on, let's see if I can just... No, get away from that power cell. Oh, God. Seriously, these things can really home in onto me, very much like the extra game from Kirby's Dream Land, I swear to God. Anyway, though, so yeah, today was actually films of the 23rd of January, specifically in 2018, that, wow, we only got 3 more days to go, actually, for, Early Man, which is a brand new, Aardman Films that's about to be coming out in UK. Well, at least in North America, they have to wait until next month, which I'm pretty much, optimistic on that one, but, hey, at least it's kind of cool to see Aardman Studios is now working on a different project again ever since Shaun the Sheep the movie in 2015. Oh yeah, we got ourselves this minigame. Egg catcher. Press the buttons to make Kirby's mouth open. Try to eat eggs, but not bombs. So in this particular minigame, all you have to do is basically we need to eat... Oh, hi, King Diddy Day. It's nice going you there in the exact same arena as last time. All you have to do in this particular minigame normally is you need to actually eat 30 eggs, but I'm pretty much in the halfway point of it. But normally if you get like 30 maximum amount of eggs, you can get more extra lives. But normally if you're actually in the halfway point, you can get some ton of points. So, anyway though, as you can see, I got myself a copy ability of a tornado. I don't find the tornado to be kind of, I don't find that to be quite useful in this game, especially consist of how the fact that, well, at least when we get to, the latest games, don't get me wrong, or in this case of when we get to the future entries, that, it gets pretty much useful when it comes to able to using that tornado ability. But in here, I don't find that to be kind of situational though. Oh, looks like we're taking place in the desert. What is this, Super Mario Bros. 3 or some kind? Well, generally, it's almost like that. But anyway, yeah, that's what I can really tell about Kirby's Adventure, actually. Because, you know, it's all in color. And one thing I actually did not actually notice is that, between this game, especially Kirby Superstar or Kirby's Fun Pack in Europe, or especially noticeable in Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland and the Amazing Mirror especially, I really love this little detail of these images of the actual, Kirby, syndromes like this, because even then though, especially consists of he actually got himself some copy abilities to begin with, because it makes it so darn cute every time whenever you, trying to get a copy ability and get yourself an image like this. So yeah, it's really cute and amazing. Finally, I got myself 2 for once. The highest one you can get is easily 1, but even then though, if you get 1, if you manage to get into that minigame, you pretty much guarantee you get also freebie 1-up. I'm actually going to be saving a Crane FIFA for later, after when I deal with level 3. But anyway, yeah, the first 2 worlds is not that, well, nothing to worry about though, until we get to World 3 and onwards, that, there's gonna be some secrets in this game, because even then though, as for this playthrough's sake, I'm actually gonna be going for 100% completion of this game, because even then though, especially noticeable in the future entries as well, excluding for the likes of, well, Kirby Star Allies coming up. And speaking of such, that, yeah, great news for the Kirby series, or the Kirby fans out there, is that, now that Kirby Star Allies for the Nintendo Switch actually now has a release date coming in forms of the 16th of March. So even then though, not too long though, we already got 2 months up ahead. So even though I'm still looking really excited for it, and I'm especially hyped for it. So even then though, that, yeah. And that could be the same applies to, well, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Switch. Even though that some people usually think this might be a missed opportunity to able to actually constantly put in too many ports. Like, obviously we got 3 versions of Hyrule Warriors already. Like, obviously the main premise of the Wii U version of Hyrule Warriors is makes it release on 2014. And then 2 years later we've got Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS, or new Nintendo 3DS with the superior frame rate, and also, I could assuming 3D effects, I'm presuming, although I may be wrong about it though. Or in this case, the amiibo functionality. But now, 2 years later, or in this case, another 2 years later, we got ourselves a 3rd version of Hyrule Warriors, which is Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which, You know, it's kind of crazy kind of thinking about it though, but even then, what makes it different between the other two versions of the game is that it contains both the Wii U and 3DS content all in one. So, yeah, that kind of feels a little bit too much there in terms of content-wise. So anyway, I need to grab my sword with me, so even then I don't want to lose that temporarily. Here we go, so this familiar figurine of this little person or what have you, but we can't come in towards into him because we got ourselves an enemy endurance coming up, which even then, all we have to do is basically we need to defeat all these enemies here before he actually proceeds, so... Yeah, I don't know if you noticed for this, people, is the fact that my game's audio volume is actually going a little bit low. This is probably due to this on the NES to begin with. Oh, Jesus Christ, I got one health unit of health left. Unfortunately, this sword ability will be pretty useless in this section. But even then, in order to actually deal with this section so easier is by the fact that we need to actually inhale these enemies right here. Until you're able to actually deal them all, this is fine. So even then, that you would... able to, you know, protect yourself from everything else, including enemy contacts here and there too. So anyways, once we deal with all that, oh god, there's actually one more enemy left. Well, in this particular section, it's not that bad, it's really easy though. But unfortunately, I do have one unit of health left. Please tell me I need to, oh, there's a soda bottle right there, but, oh gosh, these fishes will really not gonna leave me alone, don't they? Okay, so I'm gonna shoot. I was trying to aim it on the left, but I accidentally aimed it on the opposite way, which was on the right, which even I know that's kind of my fault there. So, yeah, prepare yourselves a lot of death situations in this game, because it's especially noticeable how the fact that, well, until before the future entries, that I won't die too many times at one point or another, but it's just one of those cases where it's all retro-y stuff, if you guys can probably tell already, so... Anyways, if we go into this little crane fever right there, even then, this time around though, I'm actually gonna go ahead and consider getting, 4 maximum 1-ups here, so even then, I will, do my best here, so even then, that it would able to help me out. Come on, please balance, please balance, please balance, thank you. And there's also another, 2 Kirby 1-ups, doll right there, in case if you want to have it though, but even then... You know, you get the idea. I found this minigame to be quite easy with the likes of the egg catcher minigame. It's probably because of the fact that if you can saw, from about a few seconds ago when I did done the egg catcher minigame, it feels kind of ridiculously hard to be able to deal with 30 eggs all in one go, because you need to be really accurate with your timing aspect, and especially noticeable with, well, if you touched by a bomb, you instantly kicked out, so even then, that makes it a little bit more... well, tricky at the same time, so anyway. So now I've got myself 10 1-ups, so even then though, that will be really, really great, especially noticeable I don't want to die too many times. Well, technically I had about, let's just say, 11 1-ups, or in this case, 12 1-ups as you can see here, because, if you couldn't tell already, much like in Kirby's Dream Land 1, that, the 0, lives count will still count as, well, still counts as 1 life left, so it makes it pretty obvious to see how there are some, you know, some little bit of more 1-ups amounts you can grab. But anyway, though, jeez, I can't believe how this game is now pretty much almost 25 years old. Among with, last year we've got, the 25th anniversary of Kirby franchise, because ever since, you know, Kirby Battle Royale for the Nintendo 3DS has been released. I'm considering that Kirby Battle Royale might actually be the final, Kirby game to be released on the 3DS, which, I got to admit though, that the 3DS, system for Kirby, it looks very, very, strong at the same time. But anyway, we got ourselves our mic ability, the returning power-up from Kirby's Dream Land. But unlike in Kirby's Dream Land, you can only use the mic at least once. But in this game this time around though, you can now actually use it 3 times at a time. So even then, that makes it really, really cool and special here. So anyways, let's go ahead and grab... I did not meant to grab the mic. Oh, unfortunately, I didn't get my 1-up at the top there. But in order to actually get to it, I need to inhale this little metallical ball. Which that way it actually gives me a laser ability. Which even then though, if you manage to aim a laser at this certain angle, if you manage to directly hit it from the bomb block, that way it can give me a 1-up. So even then, unfortunately, I didn't get my chance to do that. But anyway, Yeah, if you couldn't tell already, that we actually, got ourselves introduced into these little, Gordos right there. If you couldn't tell for this little few, sequences ago. That, normally back in, Kirby's Dreamland, they took a crap ton of damage if you managed to get, hurt by those guys. But luckily, though, in this game, it's actually forms of just 1 unit of health this time, which even then, it makes it a little bit more easier. But anyway, so let's go in and finish off this level right there. Yeah, normally the end of a level syndrome in this game is the forms of, you can see this little star is about to be constantly spinning around. This means is that you'll finish the level normally. So, okay, we got ourselves stage number 5. But before we get into that, yeah, I might as well actually just, yeah, I might as well enter in there. So we got ourselves yet another tree-based level. So even then it makes it a little bit more obvious, this little points notice. In fact, we're actually almost nearly towards the end of the first month in 2018, which is kind of surprising because normally these days can go way too freaking fast, I'm telling you. But anyway, though, yeah, so a few things I want to mention about this is the forms of how the fact that, well, I could assuming that Sonic mentioned about this before, though how the fact that, oh, actually I think Mario, although I may be wrong about that. But, you know how we said this before during the likes of the final video of 2018, granted it wasn't there anymore. Now, originally that we're trying to say that rest in peace King of 34, or every now and then that we're completely wrong about that. But anyway, before we get into this, we got ourselves these really cool power-up on a copy ability in this game, and it actually forms off the wheel. Which, from the looks of it kind of reminds me like a spin dash from the Sonic the Hedgehog universe ever since Sonic 2. Which, even then though, that was actually a really cool ability. Which, by the looks of it though, is the fact that you can able to use that. Except going to the bottomless pits, because even then though, that can get really dangerous if you manage to use that all the time. So I highly suggest you use it wisely. But anyways, we got ourselves yet another copy ability, Stupid Parasol. God, I hate those things. Anyways, we got ourselves another copy ability. Son of the enemies, I'm telling you. Son of the enemies. Anyway, we got ourselves a high jump ability, or a high jump copy ability. Unfortunately, I can't able to actually use that until I'm able to find a new one. At least specifically, sometimes enemies will do respawn though, which even then though that, yeah, I'm not a big fan of how the fact that the enemy constantly respawning, and every time when you actually exit off the arena, or the section rather, or especially the next section and onwards, it makes it incredibly consistent every time when it does that. But anyway, anyway though, oh yeah, that's the door right there, and I believe this is now we actually got ourselves a the high jump copy ability, which in this case, this kind of feels a bit similar. Oh, by the way, be careful of those little enemies right there, because that way it will try to hurt you if you land on ground. But even then, though, that you have to be very quick and accurate, in case if the enemy do it automatically explode on himself. Before I continue on, I'm actually going to be grabbing myself a little bit of health while grabbing that particular soda bottle. Because I say soda bottles because it reminds me of one. And there's no way I can get my maximum tomato around here because this bomber enemy right there just managed to, like, took it from me. Just really took it from me, just to steal it. Oh, great. I think my timing's a little bit too early for that at one point or another. Yeah, I do apologize how the fact that my jump cut was actually present is because I've accidentally activated the trigger button on the Wii U gamepad, but even then. Oh yeah, before we get to this kind of stuff, Warp Star Station. This star will take you to another stage. Hop on another star with a number, and let's go. Which is basically more accurately somewhat similar to how it does it where before when Sonic Advance 3 exists. Oh, I need to get into more details on that later. But first, let's go ahead and just head into the museum hub and grab myself a laser copy ability and able to take on the arena. 2 fighters go in, but only one will live, or leave rather. You can you know, get the tomato and an ability for a win. Which is basically more accurately the enemy match, which even then though, that we got ourselves this particular enemy right there, which he looks very, very easy with this particular ability with the laser, which even then, I'm just here for the sake of like restoring my health at one point or another, but anyways. So here we go, folks, on to the next boss in this game, which I don't know what this guy was actually called, but I will actually just try to research on this eventually, but even then, this particular, roller skate, pod man looks very, very easy, but at the same time, I always found this guy to be a lot more difficult from what I remember, because, first off, he's incredibly fast. Sometimes you need to able to, you know, keep an eye on the pattern going on here, because once again, much like Kirby's Dreamland on, you know, extra game or very hard mode, basically, he's more accurately, you know. Okay, so this guy was actually known as, Paint Roller, which even then, though, it's kind of cool for that little name. And, all you have to do is basically, you can either reflect the projectile back at him with the forms of these paintings he actually created, but at the same time that you need to be... Oh god, I'm cornered. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sometimes it's been a long time since I actually played this game sometimes, and... Oh gosh. Oh, please don't tell me I've screwed up. Okay, good, I did not get screwed up. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's just only a few bits of health left, and even then, to make matters even much more worse than that, yep, he killed me in the process. I'll be right back. Okay, let's finish you off with just about the exact amount of same amount of health, but sorry for a little bit of tangents like that, and I just killed myself again. Alright, this is my third attempt on this fight, and this time around though it might be a much better attempt this time, because what makes this boss a little bit trickier compared to Wispy Woods is because you need to be really accurate with not just with the pattern memorization, but also you need to be really fast before you're able to actually not get hit by the paint roller, because even then, if you manage to screw it up, this means you have a perfect opportunity to able to get hit a lot. And even, you know, I mentioned this before, that in order to actually go even higher and higher is by simply we need to able to press the D-pad up rather than just tapping the jump button twice. That it makes it a little bit of a problematic on this fight, but even then, as long as you know what you're doing, especially noticeable, keep on sending his projectiles back right at him. But apart from that though, he's really, really challenging. I got to say that much until now. So anyways, we're pretty much done with Ice Cream Island, and well, it seems more accurately, we've got 2 worlds completed. And now we move on to world number 3, or level 3 in this game's case, and that's the forms of Butter Building, which is the beginning word of B. So, I'm gonna have to end things off here for this point, folks, so tune me next time on Let's Play Kirby's Adventure for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the fact that we're going to be moving on into the third world in the game, which is the forms of Butter Building. So, this is where the sequence comes into play, people, so even then, we'll get into this more to that, so see you guys next time. Later, fellas.